Good evening. Would you call the meeting to order? Let's stand for a moment of silence for the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Boyer.
Here.
Gordon.
Here.
Hartman. Here. Hobbaker.
Here.
Hoffman.
Here.
Lynn. Piper.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Taylor.
Here. Thank you. We do have a quorum here this evening. Just let the public know here this evening, we do have a sign-up sheet here for public comment. You have two opportunities tonight for public comment, one at the beginning of the meeting, primarily for agenda items. So if there's an item on the agenda you would like to know, have the board know your interest or your opposition to, that is your chance to let us know that for consideration when we get through the agenda for voting purposes. And then secondly, at the very end of the agenda is an opportunity to speak on other matters through the district. So if you're interested, there's a sign-up sheet to sign up for, and then it looks like there is still more agenda packets underneath, so if you didn't get one, there's still more available. So again, thanks everybody for coming out here this evening. We will have an executive session here this evening at the end of our meeting for personnel and legal matters. Board members will meet in a disclosed location here in one of these classrooms. We'll let you know at the end of the meeting what that area is. So at this point, I need a motion to approve the February 12th, 24 regular board meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Stu and Donnie. Any objections? Hearing none, the motion stands as approved. Moving on to our presentations here this evening. Just I have a few remarks here. I just thank everybody for coming out here tonight. And we have a very light agenda, but some things we do need to discuss and have discussion on. So I just welcome all board members to have discussion and input, and we'll get through. And no hurry here this evening. And it is sunny out, so maybe we'll get out here before too long. But we'll see how things go. So thanks everybody for attending. Mr. Benedict. Student first. Oh yeah, thank you. Student board representative.
We have not as many events, but going into the next 2 months, we'll be having a lot of events. Up at the high school, we had our student council and FFA hosted a couple of events that had a lot of student participation, which was really nice. We had our bocce championship that we hosted at the high school, which went really well. Spring sports started last Monday. We had the faculty and alumni game that went very successfully. TWEP invited students for a live animal program. Our senior trip is potentially going to be at Hershey Park. It's getting rescheduled due to a lack of people wanting to go. And our scheduling window has started, and scheduling classes have met with counselors and Mr. Dickey. We also hosted a scheduling night, and we hope to make it a yearly event that we can build upon. There's a boosters meeting for the athletics, March 13th at 7. Our musical is March 15th and 16th at 7 p.m. and March 17th at 3 p.m. And the middle school gets to go up March 14th and see the play for the first time. Our county course will be March 22nd and 23rd. Marking period 3 will end March 26th. March 28th, we have an early dismissal, and March 29th through April 1st will be Easter break. Science fair will be at Waynesboro April 5th and 6th. And our sophomores class, the honors chemistry class, gets to participate in that. April 6th and 7th, there's an indoor percussion championship. And at the middle school, we have picture day, March 13th. March 15th, they will be hosting a dance. And then March 25th, the JBMS Drama Club will be visiting all 4 of the elementary schools.
All right, and then for the elementary schools, they're hosting Girls on the Run. One book, one district, and they're reading Who Was Neil Armstrong. And then the spring concerts are underway, and they're doing Read Across America Week and having spirit days for that. And the PTA is hosting fundraising events and events for the students. And then St. Thomas is getting a new playground, and Mountain View has a plethora of STEM events happening.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Mr. Bennett. Once again, Mr. Boyer, impossible to follow the girls, just crossing things out. And they take the fun stuff. I get the things that are left over, so I'll try to make the best of it. We do plan to do summer school. There'll be a proposal probably next month in April for the details of summer school. It takes a little bit to staff that and get that in set. We have done summer school credit recovery and credit acceleration for a number of years at the high school. We did elementary summer school over COVID. We did not do it last year, but we do have some extra money we'd like to spend this year on elementary credit or elementary summer school for about 4 weeks again. So there'll be a proposal for that coming. We're in the planning processes for that, just to make sure kids are on track to graduate at the high school level and to do what we can to catch kids back up from any learning loss within the elementary level. As the girls talked about, bocce was awesome. We weren't as successful during the playoffs, but it was a great event, packed house, just a lot of positive vibes that evening. So it was really really cool season for our bocce kids and a nice way to finish their season. Overall in spring sports, the girls mentioned that it started last week. Looking like strong numbers so far. So it looks like we're going to have JV teams in both baseball and softball, which we've not always had consistently, especially through COVID. That was a challenge for us with some numbers. And we have good numbers in track also, so we're looking forward to a strong spring sports season. It's always an honor to go to the National Honor Society recognition or the induction ceremony to swear in the new inductees into the National Honor Society. We had a nice number this year, which was fantastic, and that really is a celebration of our best academic kids and best leaders in the district. So congratulations to all the new inductees and the current members. They mentioned the education planning night. Thanks out to Mr. Dickey and our entire high school staff for coming out on that evening. It was well attended. I think that was a positive step for making parents and students aware of what scheduling options they have at the high school level and sort of getting a chance to talk to their teachers outside of the classroom. A couple other logistical things. Our pool HVAC unit is being installed. Musters are still working on the finishing touches for that. And then the actual, the factory rep guys have to come out and start it up here later on this month. So it's taking a little bit longer than I'd like it to, but it's a huge unit and a big project for us. So all is going well there as far as I know, and we'll get it running here before the end of the month is our hope. I did meet the February 29th deadline for our PCCD grants. Those were the grants that were in this year's budget for both mental health and safety grants. We have some office upgrades as far as security. We have some elementary behavior classroom in the one grant for mental health services, and we have our camera system there for the competitive grant if we're able to be awarded that grant. So those are all due. It takes a little bit of back and forth to get those grants in place, and then we monitor those throughout the spend period, of course. The faculty basketball game, I'm going to mention that too. That was awesome. I was a little nervous that it might not be as well attended as it was. It was great. Another packed house. First time we had a few sore faculty and staff legs, I think, the next day. But all in all, it was good, and it was a positive experience for our community. And I think it was probably a really good fundraiser for the athletic boosters. So Hope Grove is the boosters chairperson and does a great job organizing all of the things. But certainly that event was a nice first start for an annual event, hopefully. And then my recognition, I'm going to celebrate Ms. Flurry Adamick at the high school and Mrs. Stacy Pittman. They are the sort of advisors, the ad hoc advisors this year of a project to collect used prom dresses. They've got over 200 prom dresses. They've got some suits that they have collected. They're steam cleaning those. They're going to give those out to kids who may not otherwise be able to afford prom attire for this year's prom. So they were able to clean out a classroom out there that wasn't being used normally, and they've got them all lined up there. They can spread them out, clean them up, and they'll be starting to advertise and give those away here real soon. So Tyler Colors and Marissa Ziemba are the students who are helping out with that. They're service learners along with Mrs. Flurry Adamick. So that is my slate of recognition, both the adults and the kids. It's just a really cool project. I've talked with Mr. Abel at the Journal. I think I'm going to get some press on that here at some point before the prom, and just do a nice little journal article about this project. So thanks to all of them for thinking outside the box and thinking about ways to help out kids and families that may need a little help at this time. So awesome, very cool. And that, unless there's any questions, that is my report.
Good report, thanks, sir.
Of course.
We're going to move on to our representatives' reports from Building and Technology Committee.
Yes, we met on the 19th of February. We had a good 2-hour meeting, but you may wonder what came out of that 2-hour meeting. So I'm here to tell you I have nothing to ask for because we are in the very beginning processes of a lot of contracts. We're looking for prices and quotes. So as soon as we have something, we will get back with you on that. Our next meeting will also be on the 18th of this month, and due to conflicting schedules, we had to move it to 4 o'clock starting time at the high school library. So there is one item that we're asking for action on tonight. It's furthering the new business. I'll get into that a little more as we get into that. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir, appreciate it. Budget and finance?
We met, in our next meeting on the 25th, and I believe, our business manager will be showing you, what we discussed at the finance committee meeting.
Thanks, sir. And you got policy too.
Yeah, we met, just the other day on the 8th. The policies for 30-day review are on page 11 of your agenda. You can look at those over. They'll be for 30 days review. They'll be finalized in the April meeting. That's all I have, sir.
Sounds good. Athletic and activities, met on the 21st of February. We had a very lengthy agenda, a lot more on there to cover than we could really get through in a reasonable amount of time, so we'll have to resume some of that conversation at a later date. But there are 4 items on the agenda tonight for board discussion, review, and possible vote on that, so that's all I have for the athletic and activities. The rest is on there for your board's information and for the public's information. At this point, we're gonna move on to public comment on agenda items. We'll look at my list here. I have Carol Hartman. You have listed there, you wanna speak on agenda 10A, sir.
My name's Carol Hartman. I live in Montgomery Township. This past week, Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida said DEI is toxic and has no place in our public universities. He also said, I'm glad that Florida was the first state to eliminate DEI, and he hopes more states will follow suit. All DEI employees at the University of Florida jobs were terminated to comply with the new state law. I know that Pennsylvania does not have this law, but when I see a course credit reimbursement with the word inclusive in it, that raises a red flag to me. So I feel that any courses that has the words diversity, equity, or inclusion in it should not be approved. Thank you.
Just a comment on the inclusive part of that. In our special needs, we are required to make sure our special ed and needs students are inclusive. So there is a debate on the word inclusive and what that is and what that means and doesn't mean on very different levels. So in this case, the word inclusive is not mainstream controversy. It's basically make sure our special ed students are getting the services that they need. They're required by the district and mandated by the state. So just want to address that part on that.
But is that what the course is about, or does the course include DEI as it's generally recognized?
We can look at that and respond to that in more detail.
I'm still learning about this stuff, but are these courses that teachers request to take, or are they things that are required to take, or things that they're recommended to take? And are we obligated to approve any course that a teacher wants to take?
Yeah, per policy, as long as the course they're taking that is related to their job or that can be related to their job, per policy, we are required to reimburse them for that.
If it's related to their job?
Related or can be related to their job.
Pretty tenuous.
So let's say they're an English teacher and they may be taking a history course that could possibly be related to a job either in the future or with different circumstances there, so.
So you have 2 different courses here, strategies for the inclusive classroom. And then the other one is inclusive education special needs.
Mm-hmm.
So what is strategies for the inclusive classroom? I think we need to know what that entails.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Give me a second, I'm just gonna make a note on that and we can follow up. Mr. Alan Piper.
Yes,
It looks you have an agenda item, sir.
I'm gonna try to get out of here. A little tricky, this was a little hazardous, but I made it. Alan Piper, Hayes Road, Chambersburg. I have, particularly two questions involving, agenda items. And I'll have two or more questions, at the end involving non-agenda items. As of 2/29 meeting, the Budget and Finance meeting, which I attended, we had $36,693,000 in the general fund and reserve fund. We had approximately $34,927,492.60. The difference in these bills are paid. I assume these are the differences in paid bills because there is approximately $1.5 million at that particular period of time. So it's basically not so much of a question. The second question is, and I feel that you probably spent that as bills paid. That would be my analogy of that. Also, we have procurement cards that I brought up at this meeting when I was on the board many years ago, and even before I was on the board, many years ago, relating to procurement cards. How many cards do we have? These are credit cards given out to certain individuals for their use, for the school use, or whatever use. And I'm gonna ask this question again after many years. How many cards are actually out there? Who has them? And what are they generally used for? These are basically credit cards. What are they used for? The reason I say that, Chambersburg at one time, and I brought this up to you before, had approximately 11 credit cards. I filed a right to know, found out what they were used for, and 9 out of the 11 were taken away. And they amounted to a lot of money. Airplane trips, gasoline, food, items bought in Florida, and so forth. So we can find out by filing a right to know. That's no problem. Question, that's a question relating to the budget finance, which is not basically a question, but I'd like to know where that $1.5 million got to in a matter of a day or two, a certain date versus a certain date. So it is interesting to know where that money went to. And also the credit card use. I would like to know the status of the credit cards, who has them, what they're being used for. And we found that out years ago, and I'd like that explained. I would also like that explained at a public meeting. It's very important that a lot of this public information and questions, and we have quite a crew here tonight, of all walks of life. I know quite a few of these people. Whenever the taxpayers are spending the money, and they're paying for every penny that's going into the school district, whatever, then they should know where their hard-earned money is going. Whether it's curriculum, whether it's a roof, whether it's paying teachers, administrators, or buying something, particularly with credit cards, at $11,000 plus. So this is basically what I'm concerned about. I'd like to have an explanation. And again, it is taxpayers' money the whole way through. And they have every right to know how their money is being spent. You're seeing this universally right now all over the United States. Of people going and saying, I want to attend a school board meeting because I'm losing my home. And the taxes are just wiping me out. So it's very important when you spend it. One of the good things that I have and I carry with me, you'll find out what something is worth when you have to buy it or pay for it or spend for it. And it's an old phrase. And also, I want to read something else here, Mr. President, and the other people in the room. If you're afraid to offend someone, then you're not being honest. And that goes to a great man, Thomas Paine. Not my words, his words. Thank you, and then I hope to speak again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. We have 3 other names on here for public comment, but wasn't specified whether agenda or non-agenda. Natalie, Lily, and I think Alexis, if I pronounced that wrong. for your items for comment for agenda or non-agenda items. So, we'll save them at the end. I'm gonna assume that they're non-agenda.
She meant to sign in instead
Oh,
of.
They might just be signed.
Okay, I just didn't wanna give you an opportunity to speak, so. Let me just, let me make this here, this note.
I think there's some students here for projects.
Okay. Don't mean to put you in this, make you feel comfortable.
Must be.
I made a note that you were just signing. So.
She's never coming again.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks, everybody. I need a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
And then on the consent agenda, items, B is going to be, removed. Is there any other questions on the consent agenda items?
What's being removed?
Under B, item number 2.
The coaching appointment.
Okay, thank you.
Any objections to the agenda? Agenda stands as presented, hearing no objections. Any other items on the consent agenda that needs to be removed for, consideration? We're gonna go ahead and approve the consent agenda, minus item, B, item number 2. All in favor for the consent agenda, items, A through D as presented, minus item number 2 on the B?
Aye.
Any nays? Hearing none, consent agenda stands approved. And we'll take a separate roll call on, for item number B, item number 2. Motion to approve B, item number 2.
So moved.
Second.
Kevin and Sue. Any discussion on that? Roll call, please.
Boyer,
Yes?
Gordon,
Yes.
Hartman,
Yes.
Hallbaker.
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Piper,
Abstain.
Smith,
Yes.
Taylor.
Yeah.
If I may, Mr. President.
One second.
Sorry.
Mr. Piper, a reason for abstention, please.
That is my son-in-law,
Okay,
and I don't normally vote whenever money is forwarded to family members,
sure.
so that's my abstention.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Bennett?
One of the items on the consent agenda was the approval of, our new math teacher, Faith Brandt, who's with us this evening. So I wanted to welcome Faith to the district. And, we were super happy to get her as a math teacher. We had a math teacher leave mid-year, and that's sometimes very difficult to hire. And we're very excited to have Faith on board, look forward to working with her. So thank you for being here this evening, Faith.
Thank you. We're gonna move on to our new business here this evening. Motion to approve 23-24 school year transfer of 2,000 from Mercersburg Elementary Professional Development Services to Mercersburg Elementary Office of the Principal Supplies. Transfer will be used for weekly education resource subscription for faculty and staff.
So moved.
Second.
Cliff and Donnie. Any questions? Mr. Bennett, do you mind giving us a brief, overview of that on the, supplies?
I have Mr. Kasmark and Ms. Hershey here, so I would like one of the two of them to get a little further than that they're more involved than that than I am.
Heard my name?
Your motion about transferring some funds.
Yes,
Everybody.
my, social worker was supposed to go to a conference this year, she had a baby, did not go to said conference, so I'd like to, dump that money back into professional development for my staff. One of the biggest things is, Ed Week is a news, like a subscription. They have a lot of great instructional articles, dealing with attendance, different things like that, so I'd like to get a building subscription for my staff. I'm also exploring a book study with my staff as well too. One of the things we talk about a lot at the comprehensive planning committee is attendance, improvement of that, academics, a lot of that deals with relationships. So I'm currently looking at a book for relationships with my teachers, because it all starts with building those relationships in the classroom. One of those kids come to school, and then it spills over academically with our kiddos as well too. So that's the reason for the Budget Finance Committee. So instead of one person getting professionally developed at a conference, I'm looking to find a way to professionally develop all of my teachers with the same money for that.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Any questions from the board? Roll call, please.
Gordon,
Yes.
Hartman,
Yes.
Havaker,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Piper,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Boyer.
Yes. Motion to approve a part-time student learner for paraprofessional position in coordination with the Franklin County Career and Technology Center at a rate of $14 per hour, 4 5 3/4 hours per day for the 23-24 school year. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Yeah, I'm super excited to talk about this one. The Franklin County Career Technology Center, Career Tech, it has started an early childhood program. This is a third year. It actually started when I was superintendent of record there, so I wasn't necessarily involved, but I certainly supported that effort when I was there. We now have a senior this year who is going to go to college next year to be a teacher. But just like a lot of other shops at the Career Center do, they do co-ops. And we are hoping to sponsor, with the board's support, a co-op situation for a senior who is a JV senior in our elementary schools for the rest of this school year. It's taken a little bit longer to get to this point. I realize it's mid-March and we don't have a lot of the school year left. We had talked about doing that through ESS like we do our other subs and paras, but it just works out better to do that through the district, so we're asking for the board's support. This will happen this year. I'm not sure, I can't guarantee that I've got a student every semester, every year that would qualify that, but I'd love for this to be sort of an open position if we could have that for students who qualified in the early learning program. I think that's the majority of it. Yep.
That, this would be for this year only.
Correct. This is for the last 8 weeks or whatever we have of this school year. Correct.
Does that include extended school year?
I don't believe, no. No, it doesn't. Great question. That was not in our conversation. If we did that, I would come back to you and put her on the extended school year, because we approved that. Those factors separately. It's not a bad idea. I did not think of that.
For experience, they could get some of that.
I didn't really think of that, Mr. Albig. It's not a bad idea, and I certainly wouldn't exclude her, depending on how many people we have for our extended school year or our summer positions. But I think it's great. I know we have a couple of other underclassmen in the program currently. Again, just depends on which semester they go and what I might have available in the future.
Thanks, sir.
We talk a lot about growing our own, and this is a step toward that, right? Trying to get our own kids involved in being future educators, and that's a step toward that. That was what I was looking for.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Roll call, please.
Hartman,
Yes.
Havaker,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Piper,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Boyer,
Yes.
Gordon.
Yes.
Good program. Moving on to new business, item C, a graduation date. This is gonna be nice. Motion to approve a graduation date for the class of 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Sue, Kevin. Discussion, comments? I like the date.
Yeah. I was a little nervous last night when it was snowing, but otherwise we're good.
When I graduated, it was June 14th. So
I was June 12th.
Yeah, this is, I like it.
May 29th.
Roll call, please.
Havaker,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Piper,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Boyer,
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Hartman.
Yes.
We're gonna move on to our student expulsions. We're gonna take both of these together. If there's any objections, let me know. But, motion to approve, the expulsions listed in front of you, items 1 and 2.
So moved. Second.
2 seconds.
No.
Sorry, I didn't hear you, Matt.
You're good.
Doing the nature of these, this motion, we can't go into discussion on this. So we're just gonna go ahead and go for a roll call.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Piper,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Boyer,
Unfortunately, yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Hartman,
Yes.
Havaker.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion to approve, we're gonna go into our, new business under E program. I just want to be too fast, make sure everybody's on the right page. Motion to approve an extension of a contract with Moving Mountains Pediatric Therapy for a special education student beginning March 1st, 2024 for the remainder of the 23-24 school year. Service will be billed at $100 per hour.
So moved.
Second.
Cliff and Donnie. Mr. Bennett, I'm going to leave to you for more explanation.
Yep, and Mrs. Bennett's in the wings there in case I need her, but, as you know, we've had difficulty hiring certain therapies, to serve our students with special needs. Speech therapy is an example, for example. So we do a lot of teletherapy. There are some students who just cannot benefit from teletherapy, and we have a separate contract, to serve the needs of those students. So we had a contract in place from March 1st of 2023 for 1 year until 2024. This just extends it to finish this school year and through ESY, for a particular student who, again, doesn't really benefit at all from a teletherapy situation. How was that, sir?
Questions from the board? Roll call, please.
Piper,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Boyer,
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Hartman,
Yes.
Haubaker.
Yes.
Hoffman.
Yes.
Under F, program, motion to approve Met's Culinary Management as a food service management company for the 24-25 school year with a program guarantee of breaking even.
Second.
Eric and Sue. We only had one bid come through. We did put it out for bid, and we only had one. So this is what our board has to choose from. Met's has been a very good contract with us. We've never had really any complaints. So that's all I have on that. Anything you want to add, Mr. Bunny?
We had three companies attend the pre-bid meeting, and only one submitted a bid on time.
Are we okay to award on one bid?
Yes. We went through the whole the RFP process and had the, yes.
Okay. Just want to be sure.
And as Mr. Boyer said, I would echo the satisfaction level with Mets since they've done it, I don't know how long it was, 10 or 11 years ago, it's been great. So, quality, service, staffing, the whole nine, yeah, it's been good.
Roll call, please.
Smith,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Boyer,
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Hartman,
Yes.
Haubaker.
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Piper.
Yes.
Under G, buildings, I need a motion to approve quotes to blacktop a designated area within the solar panels at Mountain View Elementary School for a new bus ramp.
Second.
Kevin and Donnie. At Mountain View, you will see, when you drive past up 75, you look off to the right-hand side, you'll see a separation in between the solar panels, and there is the fences that are surrounding that. At the time that was approved and we were going through the contracts, the board looked ahead and saw a need to possibly put a driveway in there for buses exiting Mountain View and to go into 75 instead of Lamar Road, just for safety reasons. We looked at other options years past, even before some of our time. Mr. Smith, may remember at Hallraker, there are some restrictions that we can do and can't do within the state, as far as putting lights up and stuff like that. We discussed all these different options, and dealing with the state is sometimes challenging. So putting a driveway down through there could potentially be a big safety reason to do so. Unfortunately, the last time I remember we got a quote from it was fairly expensive. It's been some years ago. This would just be an opportunity to get another quote from it and just get a feel for how the board wants to proceed with possibly putting in a driveway there for the buses to exit off of 75. Excuse me, questions from the board?
Brandon, I did ask, I would assume, did we already look into like the right of way and all that jazz?
Well, so this is just kind of the first step, so we would have to more likely to go through this.
Well, I was just curious, I mean, for me, hitting the right of way sort of a little more important. I mean, if you can't get a right of way, what's the point of?
So,
I'm just asking.
I know what a right of way is, but what's your concern?
The township has got to approve, from my understanding, where you're gonna have a new entrance exit onto
A state road.
the highway.
So we have the drawing here, so we'd have to go through all those channels and be able to, if this would get turned down tonight, then there's no sense in even
Right.
asking them. So this is basically the preliminary steps. We're not putting any money for this. This is just going through all the, steps that we need to get this taken care of. Or not taken care of, but bring it back to the board for final review.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Originally, whenever this thought came about and everything, the state was contacted, they were involved. I don't remember the answer, I'll be honest with you, Matt.
Yep.
But I know the state was involved in this.
Okay.
That, we did do that at that time.
Okay.
Thank you.
We recommended this.
Well, partially they recommended it, but we looked at it, we went up there and walked it. We walked south on 75 to try to get a distance where we thought it would be safe to come out onto 75 to keep it down that way instead of up toward the intersection.
Toward that hill.
We walked all that, I do remember doing that, so the state was involved at that time.
If I may.
Yeah.
In case you haven't been there during dismissal or arrival, for that matter, but probably dismissal more so. The parents kind of come into the parking there, make a little snake around, and come up to the canopy, and then the buses are in the bus loop, and then the buses, everybody that needs to go left or right on 75 goes back out to Lamar Road and does that. So, the conversation years ago, I wasn't really as involved in that conversation back then, was that the buses could go down that pathway, that alley, if you will, and have better sight lines down there, but also stay out of the congestion. It's very congested in Mountain View. I've talked with the board and the safety committee several times about just, how all of our bus dismissal areas work or don't work. And that's one, Mountain View's one of the ones that doesn't work very well. Certainly compared to some of our other schools. So that's a little more of the background where we got to that conversation back when the panels were installed.
And this is just an approval to get quotes. This is nothing being in stone, no grounds being turned. This is just an idea to get started. This is one of the projects that, we wanna get started on first. We feel like, we got some bus contractors in here. What's your bus, is like 40, 45 feet long?
40 feet.
So that's a lot of tail swing on that turn. It's dangerous. We've never, that I know of, never had an incident there, but one would be too many. So that's all we're asking for, is to proceed with getting some quotes.
Can I ask a quick question with that? Is there a way that we can also think about, like, if they're gonna come out Lamar Road like we do now, like maybe making that like a right turn only to go down by the bridge and stuff like that?
That is
Because
the
I
plan.
drive an SUV, and at any given time, I have 3 kids in my car with one on the way. And if I was in a bus, I would imagine I could sit a little higher. Whereas even in my SUV, I'm edging out trying to see. So, I mean, just all around for bus, kids, parents. Is there a way that we could do like that? Like that's only a right-hand turn only, and
I
then
think the original plan was all buses that be actually on the Lamar Road will be going on Lamar Road. Everybody has to go 75, we'll have to use the lower driveway.
okay.
Yeah, that's the original
And then
plan.
they can go north.
Yes.
Yeah, they can
You
go
go
north.
north or south on
They can go
75.
either way.
Okay.
That was the idea.
Okay.
I would suggest, if, last summer we did some work on St. Thomas's parking lot in the back for their delivery. So we actually engaged a person who does blacktopping for a living, and he was like a civic engineer kind of guy that does. So I met with him along with Mr. Bradley, and we talked through, hey, what do you want to happen? Where do you want? So I would guess that if we would redo any of that, we would sort of also involve a striping package and signage package and all that, which is all absent right now too. It's just, I mean, it's kind of habitual right now, but there's no signs there. So my suggestion, if this were ever to come to fruition, we would also engage, for example, a striping company that does design work and says, hey, this is the best practice for how to get you in here and out of here. Just for an extra set of, expertise.
Yeah, and that should include the area, the striping package should also include the parent drop-off. I mean, years back, we put a concrete walkway there, so parents and kids had a place to exit their vehicles in a safe manner. But there's still a lot of congestion with kids, parents dropping off those kids and leaving, so just having more designated flow patterns would be.
We have found since COVID, and some of this is our fault because we actually encourage parents to bring their kids during COVID, just for a lot of reasons. A lot of that hasn't sort of scaled back, so we have a lot more parents dropping their kids off, picking them up, which is great, but the traffic flow is a little more difficult than it was, 20 years ago. So This is not the only building that we, probably have some work to do. We did St. Thomas last year. This is probably the next one in line, and there's probably some others that need to at least be investigated as far as like, how to get in and out, but this is the most dramatic one.
And I'd just like to add one more thing. Right now, we're talking about the blacktop, but before it gets thrown back to us about the concrete, concrete is also one of our projects we're getting prices on, new sidewalks and redoing that ramp out front. So we have a lot of irons in the fire, we just haven't got numbers to give to you yet.
I'm gonna ask you a question. So, as the person who helped put the basketball court in there, how are the buses going to get from the turnaround to this new driveway?
They would exit out the back.
But how are they getting out the back? That's what are they going to be driving across the playground? Are they gonna be driving through our
So-
basketball court? Are they going to make another?
Yeah, good question. So currently, they're already staging in the back on the new basketball court. So the buses come back, and they stage out in the back, and they come up around the side. I don't like that aspect where our buses are being forced to go back there and make 2 and 3 4-point turns to get maneuvered so they can be facing the safe direction to exit. So I don't know what the answer would be for the best solution for a flow pattern, but I would think eliminating that jockeying around in that back basketball court, a straight in and straight out would be much better than making turns on that asphalt, so. Roll call, please.
Taylor,
Yes.
Boyer,
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Hartman,
Yes.
Haubaker,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Piper,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Moving on to H. We're gonna take these individually on the athletic activities. Motion to approve transferring $150,000 from capital reserve to committed fund balance, athletic venue upgrades on August 1st, 2024.
So moved.
Okay. So during our athletic activities committee meeting, this item was brought up for discussion. The committee did vote to approve to bring this to the board for consideration. We have maintained our athletic facilities throughout the years. It was a commitment that the board made previous to most of us, not all of us, to maintain our athletic facilities. And it's something that we committed to the public that we're not gonna let them go in disrepair. In 2018, we resurfaced, repainted the track that we have now, and that was approved by the board then, and that was approximately $70,000 that it cost us. And that was recommended that we have that redone every 5 to 7 years. If you don't do it on a regular basis, then the track starts to deteriorate more than it already is, and it speeds up a little bit. And if you don't do that on a regular basis, you have more of a chance of worsening that track to the point where then you have to go down through and re-grind all the rubber off the track down to the base. I don't know what that base is, whether it's an asphalt, I'm assuming. And then there is a cycle that will have to be done eventually. And if it's determined that has to be done, that costs more than just striping. Approximately maybe 100 to 120,000 if you have to get to that point. Don't hold me to that numbers, but that was kind of the rough ballpark. So this is basically, in this 150,000, we were looking at several options that we could possibly use this money for, is resurfacing the track or repainting the track, whatever is needed at that time, recommendation. Also, the stadium is recommended that we have LED lights put in. So we have multiple light bulbs out in that. And when we have to replace those, we have to bring in a big piece of equipment to reach those lights. So the next time we have to do that, instead of replacing with our regular outdated bulbs, it is suggested that we put LED bulbs in. Also, our fields could be potentially needing some upgrades to them, new dirt brought in, or re-leveling, because over time they get uneven and they can create hazards for our athletes. So this year is not approving any work. This is just transferring the money from capital reserves into the committed fund balance. And then at that time, we need to approve something, then the board would have a motion to approve this contract for this X amount of money. So any questions from the board on item number 1?
So all this is doing is moving money out of capital reserve to the general fund.
Correct. Roll call, please.
Boyer,
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Hartman,
Yes.
Haubaker,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Piper,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Motion to approve adding boys and girls 7th and 8th grade soccer teams at James Buchanan Middle School starting the 25-26 school years, which is the spring of 2026.
So moved. Cliff can have it, I'll second.
Cliff, and then Kevin. So just some history on this. We were tasked by our community to look at different various aspects of our athletic program. One of those was to increase our participation rate, and through that was to have our students have more options at the middle school level. So last year we implemented cross country, and that went really well, and we're going to continue monitoring that as those kids who were in middle school enter into 9th grade. Do they continue with cross country? Are they going into other sports? Are they still participating? And so it was mentioned that we have another opportunity for our 7th and 8th grade soccer team, because that's an area where our participation rate has declined here recently. And so we're looking at possibly, with the motion here tonight, to booster that program. Any questions from the board? Roll call?
Gordon,
Yes.
Hartman,
Yes.
Haubaker,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Piper,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Boyer.
Yes. Motion to approve adding the middle school assistant cross-country coach at 24-25 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Eric and Donnie. So with that introduction of our cross-country team at the middle school last year, we had a great response. Over 30 kids came out, and that was a lot for one coach to manage. So we're looking at adding an assistant, to the assistant being actually it's less money than having to pay a full coach, and then to give those kids the support that they need from our personnel here in the district. Any questions? Roll call?
Hartman,
Yes.
Haubaker,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Piper,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Boyer,
Yes.
Gordon.
Yes.
Motion to approve adding 2 bocce coaches, 1 head coach, 1 assistant coach in 24-25 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Donnie and Cliff. I'm familiar with this, but I think Mr. Benedict can speak more clearly on it than I can, so Mr. Benedict.
Yeah, if you recall, we've talked a lot about bocce, the last 2 years, especially 3 years ago. It was in place, but it was during COVID, so they didn't actually compete. They sort of got together as a team, they practiced, they did exercises, but they did not compete because of the restrictions of COVID 3 years ago, I guess. The plan from the start was to have it funded by special ed for the first 2 years, by the boosters this year, and then eventually it was to be taken over by the district as a competitive interscholastic sport. So this will be for year 4, just as planned and proposed back when we started it, to have special ed, the boosters, and then phased into the district.
Questions from the board?
Where does the second team come in at then? Didn't we discuss a second bocce team at this committee meeting?
If we had 2, they would, the 2 coaches would manage both teams. Like Greencastle this year,
Okay.
they would bring 2 teams, but they had 2 coaches they just had a team that sat out while the other team played.
Gotcha, okay.
Mr. Benedict, what's the cost of this?
Mr. Piper, if you can address, just from board policy, address it myself, please. So we can get to that. Mrs. Hershey, do we have that on file, please? Do you have that readily available? Okay, thank you.
you know, old Italian men played bocce in South Philly, like my grandfather.
Did you use oyster shell beds?
I don't know.
Okay. The really good course have oyster shells, crushed
Hey,
oyster
you
shells.
know, they didn't play without 5 or 6 bottles of wine.
We don't do that. We don't do that.
Just checking on
Only,
that.
only the coaches are legal age and they're not allowed to do it when they're coaching, so.
My grandfather played with Pass Blue Ribbons, so. They play bocce. Okay, sorry, not.
Yeah, but they have PVC, court is a PVC pipe court, and then that's the boundary.
I've seen the outdoor ones or something,
Yeah.
it's like a medicine ball.
Well, the,
That you're like shot from.
yeah, so,
So yeah, it's not in the CBA because we didn't approve it, but once we do approve it, it'll follow this collective bargaining agreement under the coaches agreement. So to give you a rough estimate, interscholastic coaches, let's say year 2, varsity head coach is 2,700, and assistants 21. Now that is varsity head coach. Trying to look at some comparable.
the final number would have to be negotiated with the TEA and put as an MOU with the CEA. A lot of initials.
Right, because at this point, we do not have a bocce into our CBA. So we would have to add it, and it would follow exactly what's already in here for other sports. Roll call, please.
Havaker,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Piper,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes?
Boyer,
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Hartman,
Yes.
motion carried.
Under programs IU, you'll see that you have a ballot in front of you here tonight, board members, and you can select your IU representatives on that ballot. Go ahead and fill that out and hand it in to.
There's actually some people on here I know for a change.
Yeah, that's right. The rest, you have, of course, credit reimbursement, items for board review, our school calendar. We're gonna move on to our public comment on non-agenda items. I have, Mr. Alan Piper, you're listed for non-agenda, sir.
Thank you once again for recognizing me. I have a couple of questions here that I'd like to go over after the two I already asked. You remember at a previous meeting that I got into the agenda items, the preliminary agenda, excuse me, allowing the citizens to speak, and who was generally responsible for listening to that and making the decisions in various methods of how they felt that the public should speak, what they should say, and the law that you implemented behind that to eliminate someone from the meeting. So my request status concerning public comment, as I addressed it prior, should be changed or eliminated to allow the public to have more freedom at the public meetings. I'm sure you read the Mercersburg Journal. We have a reporter here tonight. They wrote in the paper an interesting article. Very deeply involved, and I'm sure most of you read it or transferred it to each other within the board and the administration. I know I was called right away because I do get the Mercersburg Journal, and I read it, and I was very, very much impressed with that article. So I'm sure that most of you heard about it or read it recently, addressing those major issues and concerns that many of us have attending these area public board meetings. But we read how the county government addresses this issue on their agenda. These are the county commissioners. We have a board member here that work solemnly for the county government. But they put it in a different phrase. And I want to read that off to you, what they said. Very simple, nothing complicated, no 5 or 6 items, addressing the audience, and a lot is evasion of the First Amendment constitutional rights. And I've taken the Constitution at the state, federal, and local governments for many years, and I still do. Let me read this to you, and perhaps it would add some emphasis to your reason that you might want to take this off, revamp it, redesign it, eliminate it, or put something else instead that would be more adaptable to the public's interest. To be certain of an opportunity to participate in the discussion of any item, I emphasize any item, whether itemized on this agenda or not, you are advised to attend our meeting. This is the Franklin County Commissioners, 3 people. Very simple. This is on their agenda. And I've been attending those commissioner meetings for decades, not years, decades. And I have never seen anyone get out of line that the chairman would have to come down and say, you're out of here because I think you're being irrelevant to this meeting, you're being odd, you're being weird, whatever, as I read off to you just recently. So I would really like to have that eliminated because I think it's bizarre and I think it's taken away the constitutional rights of the public citizens that's supporting the school district. So I wanted to read that off from the county government. That's what's there. Also, number 4, very quickly, the solar situation. I was involved back in the early teens, the whole way through that scenario with the attorneys, with some of you on the board, and you remember that. My vote was no on the solar system. But we have heard very little since I was on there and I voted no. And I went all around looking at solar systems. Some of you went with me, some of you didn't, most of you didn't. And I addressed it, and I addressed Mr. Rose, the attorney, and made him explain, and he did a very poor job. He came over to me after the meeting and said, Mr. Piper, I apologize for my attitude. I apologize. And your questions were very good. You were very pointed. I want to know about the solar system, which we haven't heard nothing, little to nothing. What's the cost savings? We got it in. What's the buyout? Do we have a buyout? Do we have a buyout or don't we have a buyout? Well, I remember the contract. I was there. I went through it with their attorneys and with Mr. Beard, our solicitor. The public, the taxpayers should be kept up to date about our solar situation. Is it really saving us money? I know we had inverters go bad right on top of our roof at the high school just a couple of years ago. We had several of them blow off. And I think that was covered under warranty if I remember the contract. So I'm asking you, the board, to be more transparent and the administration with the public. The public is paying for that. And the public has every right to know what the cost is, what the savings are, etc. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Thank you, sir. I know you were, Mr. Piper, very active in on our board and our board agendas. And I know you read our agendas. Maybe you missed it here for this evening, which is no problem. Just wanted to give you a courtesy to point it out to you. Under program, tonight we had a motion to review public comment in board meetings, and it's policy 903. So there, it went from a 2-page policy to a 5-page policy, making it more clear for the public and our taxpayers on and address some of your concerns. So you can go ahead and review that, and we can work through that as we go ahead and approve it. So that's that. As far as our solar system, we are, as a board, looking at that. You know, at this point, there is no recommendation to buy that out. To go ahead and buy that out at this point, from looking at the numbers, is not cost effective for us to buy that out. We do have a savings that we're looking at over long term. And that savings is close to $1 million. If we would buy it out, we may get an extra $300,000 to buy it out, but then we would take on full responsibility of those systems 100%. So at this point, our break-even point is probably at year 12, And, so at this point, there's no recommendation to the board to go ahead and do anything with that. We do have money set aside in a committed fund balance. If the time does come to purchase that out, we have money sitting there and we can do that, and it wouldn't be an additional cost to our taxpayers. So the previous boards have been fiscally responsible and conservative to go ahead and manage the money to put it back for that purpose. And we're gonna go ahead and keep that money in that fund at this point for maybe future boards to have a say when that time comes. Also, our electricity rate, when the board did that, was locked in at a fixed cents per kilowatt hour. And if I remember right, I think that's right around $5 and a quarter that we locked that in. And so that's where we're getting our savings rate. We locked in that, we pre-purchased our electric for the next 20 years. That's all I have to say on the solar panels. So at this point, there is no more public comment items.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I understand. I did not sign up to make any public comment because I wasn't planning to say anything.
Understand.
But having sat through the meeting, if you feel that's appropriate, I would like to.
Yes, sir.
Make some
Go
comments.
ahead.
First of all, I feel I should be congratulated because my name's Jack Hallbecker, by the way. I live here in Mercersburg. Graduated from James Buchanan in 1969. In fact, I had Mr. Benedict in my middle school band here. Anyway, I should be congratulated because every time you called roll and you called for Hallbecker, I bit my lip not to say anything. Now, what I would simply like to say, I appreciated your comment from John Payne, and I'd like to say I'm not afraid to be honest. I would like to say that to you as board members, that any hint that a program should be completely done away with just because it contains the words diversity, inclusion, and equity is ridiculous. Our students, and I tell you that there may be people who believe that, and I'm sorry if I'm making anybody upset, but our students probably need to understand what those terms mean more than most. So believe me, there are plenty of people in the community who feel that is an important part of what our wonderful teachers do. Thank you.
Sir. We went over something here. I just want to bring it up on our school calendar revision. Mr. Bennett, you wanted to add something there?
Yes, because of how the calendar played out, I wanted to say this publicly, it'll get in the paper maybe, and I will certainly reinforce to our parents. We were scheduled to have an early dismissal on the 27th, which would have been the Wednesday before Easter. We had Thursday, Friday, Monday off. Now we have a makeup day on the 28th, which is Thursday. That will be the early dismissal day, not keeping it on the Wednesday. We're not gonna dismiss early and then come back the next day. That leads into the break. So it's not real clear. I don't like the motion that I put on there, I apologize. It doesn't address the 27th, but that 28th early dismissal will replace the 27th early dismissal, and we'll have that one early dismissal leading in the break like we would have just a day later.
Thanks, sir.
If that's okay.
Yep, that works. Motion approved.
So moved.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.